Damn it.
Hello.
My camera is...
Oh, nice. It always zooms in, but...
Yeah, way too much. Stop that. Stop that.
Oh. I'm interested. Is it just the center of the picture, huh? Because it's not following you anymore.
This AI shit is...
Maybe it detects something not on the visual spectrum, so maybe you have ghosts. Did you consider that? Oh. But while you're fighting with your camera and making advertisement for Lego because we're getting paid by them. Hey everyone, it's quite it's quite some days since we went online. I guess it's now 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm not sure. It's quite a while. How are you doing, except with fighting your own setup?
What are you doing? Okay, I wanna at least share my screen and show what's going on here, because I have so maybe it's sort of a tool I have like for the camera, right? So I'm going to and put it over there, and so see, I take this and then I go here. No, I want to zoom out, and it goes back in again. Come.
400% zoom. That is enhanced. This is how's it called? CSI Miami levels of zoom.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Jesus.
Stop beauty filter. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I don't know.
Yeah, always, all of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. I can also do that. Where is that? I don't know how to do that. Damn. I know that if I make this one, does it work? So, it works.
I'm just gonna see if I can just crash the app. Okay. And it broke the camera. Let's see if we can start it up again and see what.
Nice with your forehead. That is something. Does it work again? I can make hearts. I'm not sure how often it picks it up. Can you pick it up? Dear software. Here, this is. How do you call it? Like this one? Do you make like this? Or here like that? Jesus, am I bad? Okay, I like that. Keep it with the beard. That is
Sure. Alright. Let's see.
We should also.
Here we go. Damn it. Beautiful.
Maybe we should call the session not bUnit dev session or so, because you're in incognito right now. Obviously.
It's fixed. I'm here. I'm doing things. Yeah.
Amazing. Let me. That was the wrong one. This one. So.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So
quite a while.
Note to self: don't hit go live until you actually have your camera sorted. Apparently, yeah, it's broken, man. Yeah, it's been a while. It's mostly my fault. Well, entirely my fault, honestly. I had an NDC London the end of January. Then I had Sweetook the week after. Then I got sick after traveling and sitting next to a Swede on the airplane. I'm fairly sure it wasn't the whiskeys the day before. I'm fairly certain it was sitting on the airplane next to somebody flying to Iceland the day after Sweetook, and I got quite a bit sick from that. Probably a good round of COVID or something similar to that. And I've basically been out of commission, or my kid has been out of commission. Kids have been out of commission since then. So here we are.
Here we are. After 3 or 4 weeks, yes, we are back.
Yep.
Back in town, back in business. Yeah. You know what? I was thinking, that's totally unrelated to whatever you said and whatever we do on stream. I was tinkering with the idea of buying myself an ultra wide monitor instead of having multiple monitors. Are you satisfied? You can send it in private chat, yours. I don't want to make like advertisement for brands or whatnot, but maybe you can.
I think we are good. We're good. So I am. So I have a 49-inch Samsung Galaxy, the original-ish version with the 1000R curve.
What do you mean with originalish? That sounds like you bought this from somewhere where it's off-brand.
I know. I mean, I had it for a couple of years. There are newer versions now that have higher resolutions. So mine basically has a resolution that is similar to 27-inch monitors sitting next to each other. It's basically the same size you get, as there's just no bezel in the middle, right, between the two monitors.
Yeah.
So plus side, it's nice that it's just seamless, and I can put my Visual Studio right in the middle of the screen, and then I can have, so it's like 2/3 is one 27-inch monitor where Visual Studio sits in, and then I can have maybe some preview or fork git something on one side, and then I have other stuff on the other side. I actually have a 27-inch monitor in addition to that sitting on vertically on the left side, where I just have my Slacks and my Teams and other communication stuff going on.
God, I love your camera.
So yeah, it tries to follow along when I point away, and
I try the same now, mate.
So yeah, I am happy. I'm happy with it in a sense that I like that it's big. For Windows machines, probably for Macs as well, is that when you do screen sharing like we do here today, you kind of need sort of a virtual screen in the screen where you can say, I just want to share that sort of equation from to a 16:9 aspect ratio thing, and that has a resolution that fits normal, non-29 ultra-wide screens. So you have to do a little bit of work around that. But it's, so I'm generally happy with it. I would have loved to have, so if I was buying something today and it wasn't available when I bought it, I would love a higher DPI, text more clear. So it's like, I think I have 105, 110 DPIs because of the size of the screen and the resolution. So if you can afford it, I would get an ultra wide again, but I would get one that has a 4K resolution or 5K resolution, just so that it's higher DPI, pixel density is better, and that would be my take. Yeah, but you could also get more less ultra wide, but still very large. I would still have a large monitor, but then maybe you can get something that have more vertical real estate. Right now, it's very long and not so tall enough.
Yeah, because it's basically what you said, like two 16:9 monitor next to each other.
Yeah. So I would buy something with higher resolution. Potentially, I would sacrifice a bit of the vertical of the horizontal space, and have it a bit higher, and then maybe just have another monitor sitting on the side for your I don't know, your Spotify or whatever you have running. That is something you want to have in somewhere over there on the side. So yeah. Yes. I'm over there. No, go over here, camera. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, but I would. Yeah, I think I'm happy with my choice. Seeing as it was the best I could sort of make sense of. I do like my main things I want 120 hertz refresh rate at minimum, and fairly high DPI. Back then, when I bought my monitor, if you wanted high refresh rate and a large monitor, you couldn't get super high DPI. All the high DPI monitors were smaller and also had only 60 hertz back then. So, and it does make a difference even when you're just scrolling in Visual Studio or whatever you use for your code editor.
Your Java stack frames.
Yes, your Java, whatever you have going on for you. So yeah.
Good.
I hope that was a sufficiently long answer to a short question.
Yes, indeed. No, because I was thinking, I have my monitors that I have my laptop, and sometimes I even put my iPad as a additional screen.
That makes sense.
And it is a bit too much, and I would also like to have less cables. So that is the most annoying part. And yes, the bordering between monitors is also sometimes a bit of a pity.
They'll have some. I don't know if they're 120 hertz though, but they have some really good monitors that are fairly big, but also have like 120 watts USB-C Thunderbolt charging cable. So you basically, if you are a Mac person, you can just have one cable going to your
that would be
MacBook,
something.
and then and it also has network. It's a full dock that's inbuilt into the monitor with network connectivity as well, so you get wired connection. So yeah. That is
would be something as well.
Yeah, and they are like good quality monitors. It's not going to be a gaming monitor, a high refresh rate thing, response time. That is, so it's probably not going to be OLED either. But you can probably find some there that sort of checks those kinds.
That is fair. With a MacBook, you don't game so much anyway.
No, probably
For
not.
that reason, I have
Video
a
editing,
PlayStation.
perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyhow.
Anyway.
Let's.
So, I think what we usually do at this time, is that we talk about what's changed,
bUnit.
the community stuff. Like you've been keeping up with the community requests we've gotten in and sort of handle that for me while I've been down. So, do you want to take us through where we are right now?
Yes. Let me just fix the zoom, and let me push the share screen button. What do you want from me now? Google Chrome was like, hey, do you want to really share your screen? Yeah, fair enough. I hope this is big enough. Is this visible? That's 150% zoom.
Yeah, I
can
think
also make it like
okay,
that,
yeah.
so a bit more space.
Nope.
So yeah, I guess the last time we streamed is like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and since then we had, let's say 3 issues or 2 issues. I'm not sure if I closed some of them. Let me just check last week. Oh yeah, fair enough. There was just something which is already described in docs. Maybe we can have a look in this in a minute. But we have 2 things here. There's a build for .NET 9, and there is .NET 9 Constructor DI. And both of those issues stem from the same problem. It's the same basically person reporting the issue, and he was using our v2.33 preview, and that thing is at least half a year old. Now it's probably 7 months.
Yep.
And we never ever, updated that or rebased that until our last stream. But after our last stream, I didn't push out a new version. Yes. So this is fixed on V1, both of those issues. We support Constructor DI, and I'm not sure what the other thing is. But as we never updated V2, which maybe we can do, I would really love to.
I think that should be the goal. If we don't do anything else, we should push out a new V2, which is maybe a preview too, so we can get closer to actually releasing one of those guys.
Exactly. And then we had a small request. Here? No, wait. Mac. Oh, wait, I pressed too many buttons. Can you? Here. So there was a request that we may support tUnit, and I started implementing that, and then it struck me again that it's not so convenient to do so. So tUnit, for folks maybe not or never heard of tUnit, probably XUnit and NUnit and MS-Test. They are all test runner, and tUnit is just another test runner, if you want to say so, but it has the advantage of it is source code compiled. You can publish it as an executable, something along the way what also XUnit 3 is right now doing. But XUnit 3 is not using source code generators, tUnit is using them. And that poses a bit of a problem for our Razor-generated test files. So as of now, that might change with .NET 10 or in the future. As of now, 2 source code generators cannot see each other. So even if you have the output of the first one, you as a generator somewhere in the pipeline, you're not able to pick that up. And this is a problem because here, as a Razor file, we basically have 2 source generators at the same time. So we have one time the source generator, which which translates your Razor code into C# code, and then we have the second source generator, which translates the test attribute coming from tUnit to the test runner of tUnit. And then we are a bit stuck. So tUnit, we can use tUnit, but only in C#. So you are limited to C# written tests instead of Razor files.
Yep.
I started.
Is that? That makes sense because. Yeah. So okay, because Blazor Razor files are converted using a source generator. Yeah, and tUnit is using a source generator to create test runs. So
yes,
and 2 source generators can't work on the same.
Exactly.
So they can't work on each other's material. So yeah, if you want to have tUnit, I think actually, do we need to do anything specific to support tUnit in that case? Because if people just they can only use C# ways of writing.
So the only thing we really have to do is
say that
I mean,
eraser files doesn't work in CUnit.
yes. So I probably did this even here. The question was more. Yeah. So here I did this somewhere. I put some in examples. There's a lot of code. Blah blah blah. The question more is it worth to have the template in our bUnit template as a framework you can execute? My current understanding is no.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's
So-
no real value there because we essentially you will wow, I can't speak today. Essentially, you would have to do a file new tUnit project anyway, and then you just add bUnit on top as you do with any other testing libraries that you might be using anyway. Right. Do we need to modify anything in bUnit to support just writing tests in
No.
C# files? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So probably just, but I guess documentation-wise, what we can do is we can just have sections in the getting started docs where we say, hey, tUnit works, but only here. So make sure that you always click on the C#-based examples in our code samples. Maybe, I don't know if there's anything in particular we need to talk through in the getting started. Maybe just have a tUnit section and we just highlight that. And I think that should be enough.
Yep.
Sounds good. Yep.
Good. I will take care of that off stream. I am. There's no magic
you just
going on.
need to remove a few things there. I guess
Yeah, get check out main, and then you're pretty much done for that folder. And adopt the documentation, because I was a bit. I wanted to have the documentation already up and running, and there's too much stuff inside. Anyhow, that will be my problem. We probably can discuss this next week.
Yeah.
And then there is the last thing, which I saw today in my own projects, because I'm using bUnit v2.
Yeah.
Is that so we have a bUnit generators package. Maybe I can highlight this a bit here. So bUnit generators, and the idea behind that package is the following: you can
use interceptors. You know, they're gone GA. They're no longer in preview anymore. Interceptors.
Exactly, and with this change, they also have a new attribute. And the old interceptor's location attribute, so for folks maybe don't know, if you have an interceptor, what the interceptor does in the source generator is you can define a location and you replace that while compilation. And the issue until now was A, it was experimental, and B, you had to define the line, the column, and where you want to replace something.
You wanted to intercept.
Exactly, and they changed that. So because it doesn't make sense, that's now you can work with the expression tree or with the simple tree, to be more specific. And the simple tree, exactly. The simple tree gives you basically like an identifier which is unique for that position, and you can pick up that identifier with that new attribute. Now,
cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's. But the funny part is, while the interceptors itself are stable, the new attribute is still marked here. You can see it as experimental. So it's called interceptable location. It's not an attribute anymore, but the way it works is still somewhat experimental. So I am not sure really what's going on right now, but I didn't investigate too much into it. And because there's a simple reason. Do we want to continue providing interceptors in the first place? So I just checked the download numbers. We are 4.8K. They're out for almost 2 years. And now there's the point where I'm saying, hey, does it make sense? If no one is really using them, should we invest time? Because this will not take half an hour. This will probably take a bit longer, because I have absolutely no idea how to tackle that. I just read the documentation.
Yeah, it might be an interesting thing to do, but it might not be worth, like, it would be an exercise just for the exercise sake.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Yeah, so I see what you're getting at. I think for now, let's maybe deprecate the package or make it, don't use this anymore on Nougat if it's not really like, well, we can just keep it around. We don't need to push new updates to it. I think your point is solid, that we don't necessarily need to spend more time on that package, and just for now, if people come back and ask, hey, this is really cool, we want to use this, we can reinvest more time in it, or maybe somebody will pick it up for us.
Yeah. Maybe also important to know, if you tackle that issue right now, if you have that issue, it's I have to check the CS7093, I guess was the issue number from Microsoft. Currently, it's just a warning. So you can exclude that. Your code is compilable, all good. I mean, it's a warning still. But yeah, it's not like you are blocked entirely.
No, I believe ASP.NET's core minimal APIs, but .NET 9 use interceptors quite a bit. And they are not marked as being preview anymore, but maybe they just ignore the preview warning in their code. But it's certainly out in, so if what is there right now works with the interceptor location attribute, we can just keep the package, we can remove the preview flag from it. Maybe that'll result in people starting using
it. It is already removed, the preview flag.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. And so if you are someone like me who really doesn't like warnings in his code, so maybe I can go a bit not offline, offline. Off track. I'm very sorry. Here. So what you can do, that's the magic about interceptors. I hope I still have it here. You can just where do I have it? Let me load this in the background for PC. Because it's interceptor, it's source code generated. You can look at the source code and you can literally just copy paste your code. So I had it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I think the value add was that you generated non-generic, like we had the generic stop that we have, but then you can, based on the user's actual component, we can generate a better stop that has the same properties. Like it was a better experience, right, to use the
exactly
stops. Yeah, the generated stops. So another option, third option you haven't written here, is that we just include stop generators directly in our bUnit base package as a package reference, like we do with the other packages, so that it actually gets the download count and people will not have to explicitly go and download it themselves to have it. But I don't know if there's a reason why we didn't do that up front. Is it because it
was preview, because we kept it as a preview for almost a year just to get some user feedback whether or not it is in a state where it is in a state where people think it's usable in the first place. If it offers enough value that people will pick it up automatically.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah, so we are not really sure. We haven't gotten any negative feedback. Nobody's told us that, hey, you broke things blew up. But might also just be because not a lot of people have tried it out. So
yeah. There was one request to enhance some of the features, or one feature to be more specific. So I guess there's at least another soul next to me out there using that package, but I'm not sure if it justifies if we have to work on. Let's keep it there.
Let's just double click on this for 2 minutes. If we add the package, so it just comes, if you do a file .NET add package bUnit, and if we add it so that it comes within that package as a sub package, right? What do people, I can't remember, so that's why I'm asking, do people have to opt in to getting the functionality, or will it just light up for them and then we might break people if we do this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what is, how would we break them? If would we break them because those things are different, or is it because we are?
So maybe I can go back. So there are two parts. There's one part where you have to use explicit attributes we added.
Hang on, I hear my daughter outside, so in 10 seconds there's going to be a knock on my door. So let me just preempt that and go and open the door and be right back.
Okay, I can just in the meantime. So for folks who may not know, so let's call that here, this one. What we did, and I hope you see this symbol here. Writer is very smart. Writer knows that there's some automatic source code interjection going on, and you can even click on it, like here. And then you see, oh, that was a bit too much. There's a lot of stuff generated. And this is what we basically generate on the fly. And if you really have problems right now with that CA is something, you can just copy paste this code out. That's what I did. And let me go back a bit further. And let me zoom in. The zoom level is garbage. I'm very sorry for that. Let's go here, 150. Let's move this here. Let's move this there. And I moved, I thought I moved it out. I moved it somewhere else out. But you can just move it out as a private class and copy paste the content. And this part, if you're not using the package, obviously works. But as soon as you use the package, we automatically do this interceptor logic. And well, let's compile that, because now it should blow up in my face as far as I understood. At some point, hopefully. So it's a cool feature because it creates so much code for you. Yeah, you can see it here. Basically, the interceptor location attribute, this is this part here. And you can see it here. You have to specify the full path to the file you want to replace some logic, the line and the column. The rest is obvious because you know how long the function call is, and then you just replace the function call. Because it has to have the same amount of parameters and whatnot, so it's just string replace in the moment. So yeah, it's a cool feature. I mean, this one is a quite stupid component, it doesn't have much, but if you have a lot of public parameters and event callbacks, it takes care of that as well. If you have inheritance, it takes care of this as well. So that's a bit the annoying bit, because it's in theory a cool tool helping you create a lot of stops in a short amount of time. But yeah, let's see. Before I go a bit further, maybe Ig is coming back in a few minutes or a few seconds. And yeah, so no, that's all. Maybe I can find a better, let me check if I have something where there is a bit more going on. Think you're right up? No. Yeah, it automatically generates also the parameters and cascading parameters. So here, if I would not do this, let's call that step 2, because otherwise I have a naming conflict. Let's call that step. Add step, open this, close, save. In the background, you can see already it is created. And then you see here that there's a whole code, and here the component is created, and that component, has the public API. So, you're back. So,
yeah, sorry about that. It took a while.
So maybe no. Let's go back here. Let me revert everything. So this is So if you have something like here, so you have some component, you want to have a stub of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now here I have an explicit one, but oftentimes you find yourself having a stub like this, so just an empty shell where you do this. So, and as you can see, I save now, and you can see the symbol picks up. And that's Rider's way of telling you, hey, there is a interceptor.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you can see here the intercepting logic. So basically what we do is we replace your add stub with add stub interceptor. And this doesn't do anything else than using the add method with the auto-generated component. And basically you can just copy paste this into your component and you're good to go. You might want to remove all this, clutter, but we have to do this because we're not sure how your namespaces look like.
Yeah. So
anyhow, this one would break.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of the pity. So if we opt into the package,
it would
we
break
might. So, well, that a bit depends. So it breaks automatically if it doesn't really. Because if you're not using the intercept logic, you will not have the stub. So what we are doing is we automatically create, I don't know if I do it here, theme thumbler stub. This is what we automatically create. Yeah, but if you don't use it, then probably you're right, and we don't break anyone.
So like the example we have is that you go and say, hey, add stop, and then you can go into component tree after the fact and pull out the theme toggle stop. So you would say, hey,
Yeah, let's remove this here. You see, there's an error because the interceptor is also creating that. And if I look now here somewhere, nice,
yeah,
Stephen. Don't show your test because
no, but I think the point is it actually would be a break and change in the sense that people will have gone and done find component, and then they would have looked for stop theme toggler stop. Like they would have looked for stop of theme toggler instead of having to look for that type, right?
yes.
So question: could the generated now you have generated a theme a theme toggler stop? Could you have generated a theme toggler stop that inherits from stop of theme toggler stop? Does that not make sense? Like, can you show
instead of this one, you want to have a.
If it can generate stop of a theme toggler, because then it wouldn't be a break and change, right? Because then if they have code where they go and look in the component tree for the stop of theme toggler, that would still work. We just gave them a better theme toggler.
True.
Yeah, but all the other things would still be right. Now, okay, so I see, but so my take is what we could do if we want to include it in the standard bUnit package is that we would make sure that for people who are using just the add stop functionality out of the box that doesn't do the generate a fancy a better stop, right? What we can do is we can try to make it so that doesn't break. So if they do find component of not theme toggler stop, but stop of theme toggler, then their code, they don't change the code. They might get a better stop, but it's still all the existing code will work for them.
Yeah.
And then it might actually be then all the good work you did to make this work, right? That might actually that might also be a good thing. Oh, hang on, somebody's at the door again.
Okay, I just tried to write down everything. I guess let me think that through, because people that are using this right now, they also should have no problem, because you can still look for that component in the component tree. So you have basically both options. But, I have to check that to stop of the component. Yes. Okay. Yeah, let's see if I can find some time, because I feel like that is not so trivial to do. Or maybe it is, and it just looked way, way, way more cumbersome to do so. But yeah. Let's close this. Oh, let me revert this. I know myself. I am someone who will for sure push this to production, which is my production. Yes, and then I'm pretty certain that was all of the issues. Exactly. So what is left is knowing where we left off 3 weeks ago for V2, or 4 weeks ago, because it would be really, really great to have a new version out. Given that, let's have a look. Let's have a look. bUnit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, for sure we should have a new version. Wow. Oh, we almost have the annual celebration of our V2 branch. The first preview we pushed on the 9th of March. So a few more days and we're good to go. We have a 1-year-old V2 branch. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's something missing or something holding us back to make a new release happening. And now I'm a bit confused, because if we just go here and I want to make a new release on the preview, I think, or maybe I should really wait for if I press the button, I'm not sure if I have to make the prepare release, because basically I don't want to have the documentation out or swapped. We have a stable branch where we push all our documentation, and obviously we don't want to push documentation of V2, even though V2 is just in preview. In the meantime, let me open bUnit on V2, because I have it open anyway until Iggy is back. Up. And then we can check what is missing for making a real release. Like make V2 happening and deprecate V1. Because, as you might know, the preview 1 of .NET 10 is also around the corner. It's already out, I'm not 100% sure. Which means, why am I in temp? Ooh. Why am I in the temp folder? Okay. Whatever I did here. Get status. Exactly, so we are probably at some point involved in making .NET 10 happening. I have absolutely no idea what other changes, Blazor related, where we have to pick up some stuffs, but that will happen sooner or later. That said, I want to just quickly run all the tests before I make a release. I want to be sure that whatever we are doing and pushing out is at least passing our own test suite. Don't want to say the test suite is complete, but should give at least a good picture. And then maybe I just press the release button. Yeah. So that's building. It takes a few seconds on my machine, mainly because we have like some source generators involved. Let's see. Please, please, please let them pass. Hooray. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I'm sorry. The kids wanted to play Fortnite, but they couldn't figure it out. So hopefully they are stuck with that for 1 hour, so I won't get disturbed anymore.
Okay, so
yes.
all tests are passing. I would make a release. Or do you
Okay.
see any? I have no idea what we did. I have no idea what the gap is. I would just make a release. I cannot get worse than the 7-month-old version we have out now.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. What? Can't remember what was it we actually did last time. We did a. Can we find the? We had a merge, or we had a PR, right, that we merged in. I think there was something that didn't work.
No.
Basically, we merged many into
Yeah. Yes.
Fix broken CI. That sounds about right. Remove obsolete property. Yeah, sounds right. Okay, sure. Let's go.
So, I can't remember. So this is V2. I don't need the prepare release. So it's just really releasing from here.
No. I think you.
No. We have to do it from the CI manually, or did we remove this bit?
Good question. No, I think you have to do. Actually, I have no idea. I can't
Didn't we
remember.
do releases from here
No,
if you
so
do the manual?
CI doesn't do any releases at all, right?
But it did in the past.
Well, I think it should just push out.
Well, are you sure?
Yes. But I mean, like in releases, like we do publish preview packages, but that should just happen when we run the.
Here. If you do manual,
yeah,
either on main or V2.
Yeah. So if you just run it manually on, so just switch to V2 there. Yeah, because the proper like full release workflow where we merge something into stable.
Exactly. We don't
and
want
us to do all the things. Yeah, that's a different beast, and
yeah.
But that only targets V1 right now, and that's another on the getting to V2 stable release. That's something we would need to tackle.
Yeah. Yeah, we also, just by the way, we also have this very, very old pull request from me.
Yes.
And I can tell you it is easier on V2.
Well, let's just
So-
move to V2 and do it all there.
Exactly.
It was the thing that came from James Newton King and the request for doing things with navigation manager. Like it should do things right, if I remember correctly. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
So my question right now is, what is hindering us to make V2 publicly available as a stable package? What is missing? What's the gap? Besides the documentation, that's the obvious one, where we said, okay, let's take the old documentation, put it into a subfolder, and just either have it as a link or as a subdomain, or I don't know what.
So I think there's a few things. I think we would want to. I always plan to basically go through each and every line of code that we have in from V1, like in the V2 branch, and double check and say, is this an API we wanted to keep? Like, should we make a modification to this? Should we is there things we would want to change, right? Not big change, but more about like removing stuff. We already removed a bunch of things in V2 that we don't think we should have around anymore, but there might be small things where there's a bit of inconsistencies in the API naming, for example. So yeah, not necessarily, but I think that's sort of always been my to-do list, to just do a walkthrough, look at the test for the particular feature, see if there's things we need to change. One of the big things we have changed is that it's called bUnit test context now instead of test context.
Yes.
Or bUnit context instead of just test context, because also that conflicts with V3 of XUnit, MS test, and NUnit. So I think I would want to at least have a walkthrough and just, but we can start doing that. We could simply start with the first C# file and just start there.
I mean, in theory, you just have to either go this or
yeah.
let me do regex magic.
Yeah, I also saw there's one thing though where you can actually use snapshot testing. Is that we can? I think it was Dennis Dorman of Fluent Assertions. He has an example where he uses maybe the same, like some library that can scan through an assembly and find all public or protected members and methods, and you just export them in a textual format, and then you create a snapshot test of those using verify. So if you accidentally add or change a public method, change the signature, it will help you detect if you've made changes to your public API. I know there's other things right now in NuGet where you can go in and where you can have it compare to what you have in like a previous NuGet release. You can sort of set some. This is my baseline version, and you can do it from there. I think that's something we might want to enable as well. So we can be, I think we've been fairly good at not making breaking changes to our public API, but it'd still be nice to have it verified, like have it as a quality gate, so that we only make breaking changes when we intend to. Yeah.
Want to go through? Let's start. Sure. Test context is easy. Done, huh? I mean,
let's zoom ourselves.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess this one is pretty straightforward. We keep test context around, so when you upgrade to V2, that you get a direct indication what to do. That's the only reason. So if you're watching this and you plan to upgrade to V2, because right now there should be a new version out. Hopefully it's running. It's still running. In a few minutes, yeah. Basically, you can just refactor it with the search and replace. Don't use regex. Some other maintainers can tell you that I fucked up some tests.
Yeah. Well, at least, make sure you read through all the changes that have happened afterwards. But yeah, no. So, and I do like this pattern that we're using here, where we don't delete the class. We can tell that it's going to be removed, maybe even in version 3, but now it's just marked as being obsolete. So your compiler will tell you, hey, you're using an obsolete class. You want to update this, so that we make it very obvious. Like, it's not just things don't build anymore, and then you have to go and figure out yourself what's wrong. So I think this is a good pattern.
Yeah.
No, actually, I was literally just thinking, we can use the search you've done, but I would also just want to go through the files one by one.
If you want. I thought that this is the most pressing one, because all internal bits we can do whenever we want.
That's true. Okay, yeah, let's stick with what you're doing now there. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
so fine. Yeah.
The exceptions, so they are already changed, so they surface the minimal amount we have to surface instead of the iSerializable stuff, because binary formatter is no more.
Be gone. Yep.
Then div markup formatter.
Yes.
That is a good one.
What is the I markup formatter? Is that an interface we need to
I guess it comes automatically with this one anyway.
I see. That's why it's grayed out. Yeah. Okay. No.
Yeah,
it's
if I go through,
angle sharp thing, yeah.
But it's fine. I don't mind to have it here. So it doesn't change anything if we remove it. At least
No.
from a user's point of view.
No, that's true.
And I guess this one is so. Just I'm not sure if you're a writer user or not. You can see whether or not it comes from an interface or abstract class if you have a symbol here on the left. For example, this one. Let's close this. This one is not part either of the interface nor the class in the hierarchy. So this would be, for example, questionable if we need this. Well, we need this here.
I think it is. I think it's. Oh no, it isn't. It's something that we have specifically in our type.
Yes, exactly.
I'm wondering, should div markup formatter be public?
Probably could be internal in the first place, huh? Because I thought like this one can for sure be internal. I mean, this is just a, gateway method for base.attribute. I'm not sure if we really need this in that way.
So where are we referencing convert to string? So where is
this is only used in the node print extension.
Okay, and that's another thing we have going on there. Yeah.
So the question is whether or not this one has to be public. It was public because it was in a different assembly. So we had bUnit core and bUnit web, and this one was bUnit web.
Well, so that definitely needs to be public because the two HTML, I think. Well, hang on. Does it?
I mean, this one is used internally at all. So this is just internal use. You could even make it private, and at least in our code base, we wouldn't have any problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tempted to make things that we don't expect users to use directly.
This isn't even used anymore.
Yeah, it might.
And I'm pretty. I would now make tabula rasa.
Yeah. Well, so if you have a clean, do you have a clean? What's it called? Git stage, so we can always just go a bit nuts, and we can then, yeah.
Good. Let's go.
Now I'm getting emails about previews being published. So yeah.
Oh, nice. I thought like because the pipeline is failing.
Oh.
So.
No, these are emails from Nuget.org saying, "Hey, you published stuff."
So I just want to make before I go into greater detail. Okay. So my understanding is if we do this one.
Oh, can you do something? Well, I can also just. But if you can move us or just collapse the file tree window. So there we go. A bit more space to
amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so I made this internal because there's no real reason to have those extensions.
No.
I mean, it's not harming someone.
Well, I think if.
Oh wait.
I think No, just make it internal. I think it's fine to make it internal because it's something we're using from other methods. Like I think it's related to the markup matches method where we have something where we explicitly make thing like we do things around how we output a format HTML where we discard some of the built-in attributes we get from Blazor, right? So it's sort of optimized, say, like, so you don't have the standard markup formatter, that pretty markup format that comes from Angle Sharp. We add our own source on top to make it a bit more nice when you get a build failure, or sorry, a test failure from running markup matches, so it actually prints it out in a, yeah. More prettily, more pretty.
Exactly, and given that is used in the HTMLizer and stuff, I'm not sure if they should be used for a user.
No, I think so. I think I actually myself have used it in other places just because of creating custom validation stuff. But I think it's fine to make it internal in the V2, and people can always just go and pick up the code if they need this particular thing. Do you want to do a build first before you commit?
I don't want to commit, but
oh, as you're creating a branch. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's anyway a good idea. Don't get me wrong.
Hey, I see people. Hey, it's Scott.
Hey, Scott. Hello.
Do you want to break?
Yeah.
So I was just letting you guys go.
Oh, sorry.
I have.
The sun has just hit the right exact spot over the horizon, so it's just burning my redness. 1 second.
That's I guess it's rare for Iceland to have such good weather that you burn your skin.
I was just about to make that joke that I'm like, do they have sun in Iceland?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Oh, tests be green.
Ugh.
Not that you get directly a sunburn.
Yeah.
No, it's more that I can't see a thing. That's the problem. Hey, Scott, how are you doing?
Good. How about you?
Yeah. We've been reminiscing. It's been 4 weeks or so since we were live
Yeah.
last time. I was
quite a while.
It was hard on my old fragile body. Apparently, going to 2 conferences in 2 weeks, too many plane rides and all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, here in the States, it's like the highest level of flu going around right now.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, my wife got
Yeah.
influenza A. She's fine, but yeah, she was out for like 8 days, and I know a bunch of people who've been out for like a week with influenza A. So
Yeah.
hopefully we're on the
Yeah.
back side of that right now, but we'll see.
Yeah. Should be good to go for the MVP summit in a few weeks, right? And you're also going to NDC Oslo, right?
Yep, I'm actually
Yes.
flying through Iceland Air, and yeah, my layovers
Nice.
in Iceland, and then yeah, I go to Oslo from there. So
Nice. Oh, yeah. Well, Steven and I are also going to
Yeah.
NDC, so we will all be there. That's excellent.
and
Nice.
Oslo. Did you say Oslo or
Yeah,
NDC,
NDC
or
Oslo, yeah.
MVP? Okay, NDC.
Yeah. Yeah. MVP.
Very cool.
I'm coming to the MVP summit. I don't think you're coming this year. Steven.
No, I will stay here.
Yeah. Do the remote thing.
Do the remote thing, which is like 2 o'clock here in the morning.
Yeah,
which is
that's the
well,
thing.
that's the deal.
Yeah, that's a bit sad. So, I don't know how long you've been hanging out.
Just like
Um,
5 minutes or so.
Okay, yeah. So I had a whole bunch of big plans for V2, all sorts of new fancy way of doing rendering and all that I wanted to try to do, and we might still get to that. But it's also been something where we've been wanting to, like, it's been worked on and off for a couple of years, and we haven't never really gotten to a point where we have had enough time to really get through that. It's a fairly large. It's like a it would be a full month's worth of full-time kind of a thing. It feels like, to really get it all tested out completely and working. So we've decided to do a proper cleanup of the code base, upgrade all the versions, and drop support for all the old versions of bUnit, and then just have a V2 release that is a breaking change but for the most part, I guess there's a few new features. We renamed a few things. We're gonna go through and make some of the clean up a
Yep.
bit of the APIs, make some of the APIs internal that we don't expect people are really using anyway, but also just want to enable us to be able to change them in the future without breaking people. So, but hopefully, like in a few streams, we should be able to have a proper V2 stable release. I think that would be goal.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's almost 1 year. I checked early on
Yeah.
Nougat. So on the 9th of March 2024, we published our first preview. Obviously, until that, it took almost a year or so to come even to that preview state. And I don't know, we even
Too
considered
ambitious.
way longer before that we should have a V2.
Yeah. Well, I've been working on V2 for 5 years now. It's it's a not enough thing.
Might as well just say it's V3 now. Pump it all the way up.
Yeah. It might be that we just have a release cadence where we create a major version every time there's a new .NET version that gets, or at least a new RTS version that gets, goes out of support, so we can drop support for that. There's been quite a bit of if-defs in our code base that we would want to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit annoying.
But the good thing is now that Blazor is a bit more stable, we need less of those.
Yeah.
Sometimes even the types changed in one public method, which is a bit cumbersome, but that doesn't happen anymore. There are coming new features which need more if-defs, but that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we something one of our Blazor clients hit was they didn't think through the whole security side of things, that like, hey, anybody can inspect the WASM files and whatnot. So they had some static content, but was behind like a permission check, and it's like you do realize like anybody can just like go inspect those, right, and like see what's going on there. So yeah, talking to him about server rendering some of that stuff, or
just have it in an
possibly make
API,
an
that you
call or
call and
something.
pull it from, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they got some like HTML and whatnot too. I don't know. I don't know where they'll land, but was more advising them on some of that stuff. But like, yeah, you don't want to like. It's just a UX thing for checking role or permissions and whatnot. That's just purely a UX thing on the front end. It's not actually a security thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, it's been a continuous thing. I remember all the way back when WASM started to become a thing, and people were like, but I can't obfuscate. You can obfuscate all you want. It's still gonna be there. It might not have the same names that you gave it, but if you have text, it's gonna be there as verbatim as you have it, right? You can't really hide it from
That's
somebody
something
who
I've
wants
noticed
to
is
get it.
people get used to. My C# code is safe. Like,
Yeah.
it's on the server, and yeah, it's not the case if you're doing Blazor WebAssembly. So anyway,
Yeah. So I remember we always chat a bit about this whenever you find the time. I know it's early morning or before noon at least in your part of
it's
the
at
world.
8:30 here.
8:30, yeah. So we had big plans also of getting. Whenever I done 2 talks on Blazor testing the last two conferences. So I keep having to say, well, and here we have our Scott Saber. He's threatening to actually implement the find by label or find by role. And, but I appreciate it's similar to us not being able to complete a big feature for 5 years now. It's not something that it does require a bit of concentrated time. But I think once we are through all the code we have here, I think it might actually be worthwhile to solve something we can also just spend some time on stream and just plug away, because you can there's the base functionality of get by role, which I think is the big one that's really missing. And you can start by adding those, and then there's the more complex scenarios that we just throw an exception for, saying, hey, we don't really support this yet, right? So the implicit versus explicit roles.
Yeah, I mean, some of our clients are using the by label text, find by label text stuff. Actually, one was like, oh, it's not working with MudBlazor, and they're on like an old version of MudBlazor, and I was like, well, maybe we found a bug, and then looking into it is like, oh no, that version of MudBlazor just was not accessible. Had accessible labels and whatnot. So the latest does, but I don't remember what version they're on. But.
Oh, it's hard to hear me, they say. Well, let's have a look at that. So I was actually Steve, I was about to say you're louder than Scott, definitely.
Let me pitch that down a bit.
I
can pitch myself up.
I can go up too if you want.
Oh yeah, my mic volume is really 43% above normal, so now it should be a bit better.
So according to
I just close the window. I'm back soon.
We are. So it says Scott is volume 7. Ego is quite low, about 1. Okay, so let me just bump it up a bit.
That's better.
Might also be. Is it better now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Am I good now? Or am I good?
Better.
I changed it, but then I was like, oh, maybe I should.
Okay. Should we go for perfect?
Right.
All good. Okay. Good to hear. Yeah. Sometimes, the noise filters and all the things can be too aggressive.
Now Scott is lower than you. Now it's the other way around. At least for me on my AirPods.
Are you still the loudest one of all of us?
Damn it! I even put it down for 40%. How much lower should I go?
Just put it away, a bit more away from your mouth.
0.
Yeah, 0.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how we like you, Steven. Beautiful and quiet in the corner.
I hope it's a bit better. Let me just put the mic a bit away. So.
Yeah.
A lot of my free time, I'm mid creating another dome train course, so that's still been eating up a lot of my free time. So
Yeah.
hopefully on the backside of all that,
Yeah.
in the next week or so, I'll be done with that. So
Can you talk about what your the course is about, or is it
Yep.
secret yet?
it's on web application security. So I'm getting into
Oh, nice.
OAuth flows. I'm getting into like OWASP top 10 stuff. A lot of people don't know there's an OWASP API top 10
Yeah.
out there. So kind of showing examples of all that. HTTP security headers. All that kind of stuff. Talking about like, hey, you should have a web app firewall, your applications and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh, that's cool.
be semi-comprehensive, talking about like infrastructure as code scanners, how those work, some of those kinds of things. So which isn't exactly web application security, but I kind of tie it in because you can like enforce certain version of TLS and all that kind of stuff. So
How much content is it? How many hours?
so far I'm at
4 or
6.5.
5. Okay.
So which I'd say for every minute of content, it's probably like 15 minutes of prep, editing. Because I feel like there should be like an AI to just like auto do all that. But I've talked to some people, other Dome Train authors and like Nick and stuff like that, and they're like, nope, I just do my own, or they hire somebody to do it. And
but it's besides the you learn. I think we always learn a lot, but we actually have to articulate and teach it to others. But I guess it also does compensate you well enough that it makes sense for you to spend the time.
Yep. Yeah, it's been good, and I would say it's been a course is probably the hardest thing I've done from like it's way harder than a workshop or public speaking or something. Like if I screw up when I'm speaking at a talk, it's like, oh, I'll just like fix it and move on. Versus like when I screw up recording and I'm like, oh, I should really redo that. And minimizing jump cuts and if I do jump cut, like, is everything in the same spot or is it like, oh, my screen like moved around and I don't know. It's just a lot to think about. It's like so much worse than a conference talk. I'm gonna say it's like 100 times worse than a conference talk in terms of like, at least for me.
It seems like I made the right decision when Nick reached out and asked if I was interested in doing courses. I said, no, I don't think I have the time. I heard people enjoy making them, but I also heard it's a lot of work. So yeah.
Yep. It's definitely been, right now is not the fun part. It gets fun once it's done and people start buying it and giving feedback and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I would also imagine that you can take the course you built and actually turn it into a workshop, like a 1-2 day workshop. Like if you have 6 hours, 8 hours of content for a video course, that's easily 2 days of workshop time because you have even more, maybe even just 5 hours can be 2-day workshop. And if it's a popular topic, then you can go to conferences like the NDCs where you can get you can earn a bit of money on doing that if you actually have handful people like 6 to 12, I think 12 people show up for that, right? So that might be a good way to get a bit more out of the effort that you spent.
Yeah, so I've one of the courses on GitHub Actions, and I've turned that into some workshops and stuff like that. It's definitely like I just more or less take the content I've created and just kind of workshopize it a little bit. But it's been good that way. But I'll be happy not to do one for a while after this one.
It's like writing a book. I get a sense that everybody says, oh, I hate writing books when they're doing it, but then as soon as they're done and a new editor reach out, do you want to write this book? And they, oh, okay, yeah. So it's
and I specifically pick topics that are hopefully more evergreen, like GitHub Actions and web application security.
Okay.
Because if you do like Entity Framework, you're gonna have to update that like every single .NET release. Where like web application security is pretty timeless and whatnot. And also update stuff, but
I guess if you have if you have a topic that's transcends versions of things are more, not even maybe not even .NET specific, but more general, right? There is potentially a bigger audience. But I also see like what's it called? There's a Swedish guy who keeps doing the talk, what's new in .NET and C# and then version number, and he's been doing that for all the times I've been doing speaking engagements at NDCs and other places, and he just keeps adding a new version number to it. So I would assume it's a fairly easy talk for him to prepare because half the content is from last time, and so there's like 5-10 minutes of new stuff from the new release.
So
right?
he does a sliding window, so he always takes like the
exactly,
last one.
yeah. So it's a very easy talk for him to prepare, I'd imagine. It's a good talk, but it's also like so if you just need to upgrade it once in a while, once a year, you have to upgrade the course, and then you can sell it again, almost like for people who keeps using it. Then it might also be an idea, but yeah. You don't want the commitment.
My problem is like I kind of joke that always got a background thread running in my brain, but it's like at 1% CPU. Like it's not like I don't even know it's there. I'm sure this happens to you guys too, where all of a sudden like you'll just be doing something random and some like random tech idea will hit you, or like a refactoring that I could do, or like whatever the case is, and I keep having those of like, oh, I should add this. Oh, I should add this. And okay, I gotta ship this thing at some point. Like it's probably fine.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Does that work? Yeah.
Oh, you can get into sort of almost an analysis paralysis kind of a situation where you just keep at, and what about this? And I guess it's harder when you're doing something content based like that, because you can always add half an hour more, right? Just a little bit more. But it's also diminishing returns. Like people will not have the edge cases they want to learn about. So you record it for the 5% that actually will watch it through to the end. So,
well, and I do a stupid thing where I in the next video we'll talk about blah 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 or something to that effect. And then it's like, oh shoot, I want to like insert it in between, and I'm like, oh man, I should stop like previewing what the next one is so I can just insert it and it's not as.
Yeah, you can change the order of things. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I guess you learn from all the cuts. Learn from experience. And figure out what works.
I got a blog post that's I've got 40 bullets of like basically. So you're gonna build a course. Here's some things to think about.
Nice.
I want to turn that into a blog post or a talk. Or something, I don't know, but probably a blog post.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think Dylan Beatty had a workshop at NDC London for how to build a successful presentation, something like that. And there were not a lot of people that showed up for that workshop. So it might not be a good. It might be a session that I would attend as a fellow speaker, but it might not be for the broader audience. So, but a blog post, please do share when you have that ready.
It's definitely a targeted audience. But anyway, we can get back to Blazor or bUnit.
One thing I also like, I thought like maybe writing a book, and that is the same issue that you have to have a red line, which is somehow covering a lot of cases, but you cannot go left and right too much, because what's the focus then? And I feel like that's the same as if you do a workshop or a seminar or whatever, which is, let's say, not limited to 1 hour talk. A 1 hour talk is you have 2 or 3 key points and you're done.
Yep.
But if you want to go, and the pace of a talk is different than the pace of the workshop. So in 1 hour talk, you have less information than 1 hour workshop. I assume I would do it like that. I would have more dense information in there. So for me, in my brain, because I'm nervous all the freaking time, I would go left and right all the time, which is awful for people to watch.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's better that I not do that.
Yeah, and I started scripting stuff like first course I made. I started scripting stuff and like I had like a teleprompter and whatnot, and was like reading off of it. And then like I went to go edit it, and I'm like, man, this is like so robotic. And so now what I do, which sounds kind of janky, but I just have like a post-it note underneath my camera of like the 2-3 bullets I want to hit, like 2 or 3 points I want to make in this module, or maybe it's one bullet, and I just like freestyle it more or less. And just kind of talk through what I want to cover. So
it's not unlike how I do presentations. Like I would write out. I've been a bit lazier with that lately, but I will write out the like verbatim what I'm gonna say for the full hour of 55 minutes, and then I will practice that as you practice or rehearse a play. So I will, when I'm at home before I go to the concert, I will practice it and try to say it. And it does help me because not being a native English speaker, that is usually a more concise word you can plug into a sentence that will exactly explain the concept or be unambiguous. Whereas if you sort of make it up on the fly, you might be more wordy or be more less precise. But I don't read out loud when I'm on stage. So then I've hopefully tried it a few times, 4 or 5 times, and then it's more like the keywords, like you say, with I will have keywords on my slides that is sort of, and then I can remember the harder to phrase sentences that I can then say to the individual bullet point. So it does make sense that you're doing it like that, I think.
I had a small question. Like, is this... So picking up your idea about, like, there is a more concise word, for example, or something which explains that thing in a more condensed way. Mm-hmm. Given that a lot of folks at conferences are not native English speakers, is this really the case? I feel like sometimes oftentimes it's really better to use more words, but they're simpler rather than having one word which maybe half of the people wouldn't understand. In the worst case.
I think so maybe it's not like there's less words to use, but I would, when I'm trying to go through and practice explaining something, I might sort of go off on a tangent, right? Or so having sat down and written it out, in text, I can sort of figure out how do I get the message through that I want to get through. Not necessarily using just a very short, fancy English word and versus using 5 words that says the same thing. I would probably default more to using a mix of the two, not necessarily just taking the shorter version, but making sure that the message I'm trying to get through is understandable and not can be interpreted in multiple different ways, which is hard to avoid in any case. So I think that's more my point about writing it down first and then practicing. So I have thought through, you implicitly you ask a question, a rhetorical question when you're standing on stage, and then you answer that. You might not ask the question explicitly out, but it's like you're telling people something, and you want to make sure that the thing you're trying to tell is actually getting communicated correctly. So I think this might be a good example of what I mean by actually rephrasing it first before I start trying to explain what I want to say. So yeah.
Yeah, it's there's times where I go like, so some people just like record everything and then edit it at the end, or like edit it in bulk. I can't do that. I usually just record a module, go edit it, record a module, go edit it, because then I can also like, I found when I did like multiple modules, sometimes like, I don't know, when I edit it, it like kind of gets me in the frame of mind of where we came from, so where are we going next? Versus when I kind of like roll through multiple modules, I don't know, I just can't connect that as well, I guess. But I'm sure it's way faster if you can just record all I think Nick said he just like records all his all day, or takes a day or two and records it all and does a bunch of prep ahead of time, of course. But and then just goes in bulk edit mode. I'm like, yeah, I'm not that pro level yet, I guess. But.
Well, I think it's also a way of working that I don't necessarily think it's better one way or the other. I would also imagine that even if you are, supposedly the expert of a particular topic, since you're creating video content around it, or, well, it depends. There's definitely different levels of complexity in different courses. You will still, even though you know it by heart, you will still have things you need to look up, make sure that you, like you say, if once it's published, you can't go and say, well, actually, I want to make this more precise and highlight more points here. Or so you have to actually do some research before you can sit down and do record. I guess you also have slide decks or code or other examples you prepared up front, so it's not like we're doing right now, just winging it with light coding and trying not to waste people's time too much, but still.
Yeah, it is funny though, because like so we get like Nick's got there's a Discord channel, and he's got like you get a live stream of the reviews coming in, or like purchases people make or whatever. And it is fun. Like some of the reviews, like I'll have one person who's like, "Oh, I loved all the like the jokes you made. It was funny, blah blah," and then another person will be like, "Too many jokes. Don't do jokes," and all that kind of stuff. Or somebody will be like, "Oh, this is good pace, whatever." And somebody was like, "Oh, this moved too fast," or "This moved too slow," and I'm like, "Well, maybe if people are saying that, I got it in the middle and it's right." I don't know, but
No,
yeah,
never.
never.
If there are like more than 3 people watching, probably you will never nail 100%. It's just impossible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's and like the GitHub Actions one I showed deploying to Azure, which like no course out there like on Udemy or Pluralsight on GitHub Actions, they always show the CI part but not the CD part, because you actually need like a server and like all that kind of stuff to deploy to. And so I showed like setting up Azure and all that kind of stuff, and I mentioned during there, I'm like, other courses don't show you this because of all the setup that we're doing and all that kind of stuff. And some people were like, "Oh, you showed Azure, but you didn't show AWS and GCP and like all this stuff." And I'm like, "This is not like an Azure course or an AWS course or GCP course." And I say that is like a GitHub Actions course, so like the concepts apply of like federated credentials and some of those kinds of things apply. But yeah, anyway, it's just I try not to take it.
It is hard to please everybody. I consistent feedback I get from my Blazor session talk or Blazor testing to A2C talk I've done a few times is that it's like people will say it's good content, but I also have a lot of content, so I speak very fast and I go through a lot of things. So there was one lovely lady who came up to me after my talk at NDC London and said, "No, I gave you a yellow card and I want to explain why." And it was because I made a point and then I just moved on, right? I didn't give her like the 2-3 seconds pause, drink a bit of, and I just went on. And then when she was done thinking about that, I was 2 points further ahead. So it was basically too fast paced, and I probably have too much content in that talk, but also it's a balancing thing. I might take away, at least for the NDCs and other conferences where they recorded this, but you can always go back and watch it again. Like if you think the content is good, you can always just watch it again. So but it's a balancing act. Yeah.
It's funny. You get, I mean, I've been in your talk. I liked it, but I also knew, I was starting from a baseline that others who had never heard of bUnit before or something, weren't starting from. I think it's interesting because I hear a lot of feedback sometimes like, "Oh, a lot of conferences are just so like beginner focused on talks, and there's no like intermediate or advanced stuff or not as much." But then, you get feedback like that where, that person might have been like newer to some of this stuff. And yours might, like, I would say yours is like, I mean, a beginner can kind of, see the progression, but like, I think you have a lot of like intermediate and advanced stuff in there too. So, which I appreciate.
It's a bit of a weird thing because I think both the API testing from A2C and the Blazor testing from A2C talk, I do submit them as intermediate talks, but there's also like, for example, the Blazor talk, especially, like I'm basically going through and seeing this is how you do it with Playwright. It's more like a getting started with Playwright. It's a getting started with bUnit, showing this is how we set up the code. But then the more philosophical content about, what kind of test should you be writing, that might be, where you actually have to stop and think. And that's probably where I need to slow down a bit, because just blazing through some code and showing some code samples and explaining a bit there, that might not be the thing that stumps people too much. But I do get to give a talk, especially like exactly around this topic at NC Oslo. I'm going to talk about how, I think the title is, "Are you writing valuable tests?" Which is sort of taking the 5 minutes that I have in the the beginning of those two talks, where you just talk about, the good properties of valuable tests and say, this is what we're going to look for. And then I go into Blazor or API testing. But I'm going to have a full hour of just talking about the ways about thinking about test, how you want to structure, like what kind of good properties you want to have around your test, and being able to pick the right things that matters for your particular projects. And it's not really, it's going to be C# code examples, but it's not going to be, probably not going to be light coding. I'm going to have some code on a slide deck and show that off, and maybe transition between it, and it could also be a talk I could submit to Java conferences or Python conferences or other places like that. I know.
but two things, or maybe one amendment's got to what you said earlier about the level, and I guess NDC is more proficient people, because I don't know. That's just, I don't know. I was
both yes or no.
I was last year on a conference where the most visited talk was about solid principles and C#. But on a very low level, like low level from not hardware level, but low level from an abstract point of view. And I was like, if you would have brought a topic which is advanced, there would be no one in there. You would be alone making the conference for yourself. And I don't know. So I guess you really have, it's not possible, but certain conferences have certain proficiency levels of people. I do not know if NDC is now more expert or not. It's just...
I think it's like a medium. I think there's definitely going to be talks that are quite basic, but then I also have to look through that through my own glasses and recognize I've been doing this for 20 years now. So it's like writing software. So I might be setting the bar too high or too low. I don't know, depending on where you view it from. But I do find that a lot of sessions are. Like mines as well, will have like a solid, like it will, if you don't know the technology at all, you will learn something. But if you've already played with testing or playwright testing or bUnit testing, you're not going to learn a lot. You might learn a bit about my ways of thinking about which type of tests are more appropriate, but it's going to be that level. So if you're already an expert in the field, you're unlikely to find a session at an NDC in that, like a very particular technology that you're an expert in, that you don't know more or less all the things that are being taught. You might not just end up disagreeing a lot with the speaker at that point. But NDCs are great if you want to level up and be introduced to a bunch of new things that are just hot right now, and even if you are a fairly senior developer, you will learn stuff, right? And I think many conferences aim towards that, where it's basically corporations that send their people out to get their yearly, this is where you learn new stuff, right? This is where we teach you things, right? So they get to go and learn about a whole bunch of different things, right? So but it's usually not advanced. But then if it was that, then you would have to, like, I would have one or two talks I would go to at a conference if they want to capture a whole bunch of different technologies, right? So the rest of them that are super advanced, I wouldn't want to go listen to because I wouldn't be able to follow. Like it would be so.
I definitely think like NDC, like the Gravity. I mean, it's not a Microsoft conference necessarily, but the Gravity is definitely towards Microsoft. Technologies, right? So, or like a KCDC, that's more. I would say that's more generalist. I'd say it has historically had some gravity around .NET, especially because Kansas City is a big .NET town. But I mean, they've got stuff on React, Java, Scala, like Python. Like they've got. So I feel like at a generalist conference like that, you sometimes get more like beginner sessions, because versus like if you go to like a React conference, you're going to get almost no beginner, like intro to React.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. You're going to get a lot of like,
people don't want to have the tutorial presented to them.
Yep. Yeah. And so like, I feel like those kinds of talks where you might have like something semi like deep esoteric of like how rendering works in React under the hood.
Yep.
That might not get much at KCDC, but at a React conference, like that probably will get a lot of people going to that. So
I think it's pretty great though. What KCDC has done this year is that they've been out and talk about, like they've given, like record a small video, like shorts from the very. They also have explicitly had the tracks where they say this is Java track, this is Cloud track, this is .NET track or whatever. And I think at least I saw a video from Heather, who's one of the organizers, I guess. That like they want, I think what's the phrasing, more learned stuff, like more like so don't come and give the hello world of getting started with X in .NET. They want you to come and talk about your experience with a particular problem or area you worked with, and from a more, like, you want something where a senior person will learn something as well, right? So I think those kind of conferences is where I would probably find myself going to more sessions and not just sitting in the talking to other speakers or attendees and getting drunk in the evening. But no, might do both, right? But yeah, I do tend to. We always end up maybe going to a few sessions, and that's about it. You don't, when you're there as a speaker, at least. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can definitely tell when somebody's giving a talk on something they've never actually done themselves, and that's not,
that's not good at
the best. Like, when people ask them questions and they're like, something that you would think they would have hit and they don't know, and
then they go live to jet.openair.com.
yeah.
And so yeah, I like what KCDC is doing, but
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I kind of feel like I hijacked our side.
No, actually, I think it turned out to some interesting conversation, at least for me.
Exactly, for me too. Yeah, I was also thinking this year for NDC, I'm not sure if I should shy away or not. If I should do live coding, there is certain bits which makes it interesting rather than having slides with the same code, because while you code, you can explain your thoughts maybe better, but there's such a big chance of just cluster fucking it, and then the setup doesn't work, the hardware doesn't work, the internet doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I should open that box, even though as a person sitting and watching someone, it has a certain appeal to it. Seeing someone live coding.
So I think it's more about if you're able to do it effectively. So I think to your point, right, if people are not comfortable typing and talking at the same time, so there's like 1 minute where they're just typing and you're sitting there waiting for like then it would be better if they just copy pasted the code into the slide and had it sort of show up piecemeal while they talk to it, right? So it's about more about the presenter than how it's actually done. So we have a fellow MVP, Jimmy Ingstrom. He is, I think it's still in private preview, but he has an extension to Visual Studio, and maybe you can find something similar for Writer. But basically, what it does is that you can have the code. I'm not sure how exactly he does it, but I think, as I understood it, you can just click random buttons on your keyboard, and it will just print out the prepared code that instead of having snippets you draw in, it'll just looks like to the audience it'll look like you're live coding it, but you're not really typing. You're just having it print out what you prepared. Okay. And he also has. I saw Stacey Cashmore use that in her NDC talk a few weeks ago, where you can use it and it will like if you highlight a line. So what I will do, I'll use a snippet to draw around the text or some way, somehow just highlight it with my mouse cursor saying, this is the code I'm talking about right now, because I don't really want to, it takes too long to type it out live unless I'm explicitly making small changes to showcase a feature, right? So, but what she was able to do is she would able to highlight a line and it will blur out the other lines. So you would focus people's attention on the code you were talking about. And I think that's a really key point, that is, you want to focus people on the part of the code you are referring to. I don't necessarily think there's big value in coding everything from scratch up in front of people, unless it's taking them through the pages and it's very little code you want to write. Then I would just have code prepared in some way and gradually show it to them on screen.
Yeah, so my idea was like, you have always code which is like setup, which is boring, which no one cares about, but it's important. So I would have this as a snippet. So you just type in, I don't know, SAT or so, or SET, I don't know, tab, and then your scaffold, whatever you need. And I like the graying out part or blurring or whatnot. I would have to check if there's something from Mac or whatnot. And then you just, the important bits where you think like, oh, those 3 lines of code, they are hard to understand because, new concepts and whatnot. And you can go then by line through. That was more my idea. And all the scaffolding, it's just, you have to do it, but no one cares about that.
So I think run to a meeting, so I'm gonna drop. But yeah.
Oh, great talking to you.
Joining us.
Yeah. See you next week.
Have a nice one.
Yeah, you too.
We
Cheers,
don't
bye-bye.
promise.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye bye. Yeah. So I what I did in I think one of my first presentations is that I just had a slide deck, and I would use PowerPoint where I copy pasted the code in, and you can animate the code so it just comes out
Yeah,
letter by letter.
exactly.
And then as you you have your clicker. And then
got
it shows a
DDoSed.
bit. Yeah, my wife is wanting me
Then it's
to.
only DOSed, not even DDoSed. It's like the whole family. No, exactly. So this is what I also did, or still do, to a fair amount. That I have all those snippets and just you let them slide in, or you use these keyboard type effects or whatnot.
Yeah, it works quite well, I think. But the tedious part is if you change some of the code in your slide deck, you have to go and copy. Well, you have to copy paste it in, and it can be a bit tedious to update the code if you want to change some of your examples, right? But it works really well because you're also able to just use the drawing tool in PowerPoint to just highlight something and say, this is particular important point right now. And you can be standing with your hands free and you have your clicker in your hand and you can go forward at a pace. You can, so I think it works really well. But it's a bit more work than just having, things in Visual Studio or in your code editor of choice where you just highlight the code and say, this is what I'm talking about right now. But I do think you're able to capture keep people's attention a bit more on the important part of the code. Because if you have a wall of text, even though you're talking and you're highlighting, people will start reading the other parts of the code. They might get so if you just can gradually control how things are getting shown on screen, that is better. I'm fairly certain of. Yeah.
By the way, there's also a world in between. I don't know if you know Reveal.js, where you write all your presentation in JavaScript and HTML, and there you have the option to import your C# files. You can say, like, give me line 10 to 15 of that file.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like our documentation where we write in docx. If there are big changes, you have to change all the line numbers.
Yeah, and that's definitely been a thing I've been thinking about. Instead of using PowerPoint, I'm just familiar and comfortable with that, but using some dedicated tool where I can have my example code somewhere else and easily edit it and then update, so I don't have to, with colors and all of that, import it in. So that might be something I will be looking at for the next session I'm creating.
The cool thing is I used that once for a poll. So I just, at the beginning, I made a poll basically with a question and people should, vote. And if you use something like Reveal.js, I'm not sure if this is possible in PowerPoint, you can just, either have an iframe, or what I did, just make the API call exactly at that slide or one slide before. So, you don't have the loading trouble. And you have somewhat real-time value of what people voted for. And it is, I'm not sure if you can do this in PowerPoint. I guess you can embed websites, but that's, I don't use PowerPoint, so I cannot tell you really. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Should we go back in the code?
Are you sure?
Do we have more time?
Almost out. Yeah, I have a bit more time. Not much more time. But
I don't think we want to double click. So actually, let's do this. Let's just, because we were in the middle of making things internal. Do we want to just make sure all our tests will pass, and then put some sort of note somewhere saying this is the file we got to, and then pick up from there next week?
I already put this into a pull request, so maybe. I don't know. There's not, so basically it's just the regex. It's not so much options. Like it's not like we have much to check, as you can see.
No, I just mean going through things, reviewing the API, the public API. I just want to go through the methods, public classes, public interfaces, and just double clicking on each of the interface methods, properties, and all of that, and just see if there's anything that bothers us that we want to take care of before we commit to a stable release. That's my goal. But I might also find some time during the week where I can just browse through and see if things stick out to me, right?
How about we create the pull request and we just bump in everything? We dump our brain right now. So make us no. This is like API review. I don't know. I wouldn't call it clean up because that sounds wrong. what did we do until now? So the target is to have a clean, maintainable public API surface. What we did so far, 21st of February. If I could write, imagine that. Use the following regex to identify public API.
Yeah, so we find public interfaces and classes. I guess maybe we want to include struct in that as well.
And record and you're also
Yeah, well, I think that can be, between the public and the interface class record struct. It could also be sealed, but I think that should if you can have a .star just I don't know anything until sealed is we have a D too many.
That is true.
But there might also be partial types as well. So I just want to we'd also just star and then something, and it will you have static stuff as well. Yeah, okay, so that expands a bit on the things we find. So you can make it public, I guess, public, and then probably you want to have a space between the dot and the star, like after it.
It doesn't matter. It would capture anyway everything. There's absolutely no.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
probably,
for us it may be easier. That's fair, but it doesn't matter.
No, yeah, you're right. Of course.
But
I guess we can limit it to you can limit it to any space or word characters because you can't have star in there. You can just have word characters, right? You can't have numbers in the different things in here, right? Between public and something.
Yes, you could call it class, my class too, and that would be allowed. And then if you just take the word regex, it wouldn't pick this up.
Well, so you have public something and then class interface record, and so it's more of the things that can exist in here. That would just be a word class, one or more word elements and white space, right? So it would be slash. You would use the square bracket, right? So we don't want to. So so a word or a slash s for space. So one I think s/s, yeah. And then, I think that'll do it, yeah.
That will now not find anything which... Ooh. Wait, now I have to really remove it, because otherwise it doesn't work. Now I really have to remove it. The space in between here, because otherwise it looks for two spaces. One literal space, yes, that's why you can see not the class anymore, you see? There's no public, just class.
Fair enough, yeah. Yes.
So what we did until now is, if I go look here, that I know it's in the div, but at some point the div will not, be enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's rename it to V2 API review, just so like the pull request that is. But you can also rename the class. That's probably good that the class and the thing is the same name, more or less.
Then I have to... Can I change both branches? Can I change... No, of course not. Nah, I have no option here to change the...
Okay. Close the pull request, copy the text. Too many chefs in the room.
Oh boy. Okay, let's go. Yeah, exactly. That sounds about right. So, and view pull request, that's new. What is view pull request?
I don't know.
Ah, that's the old one because it's seasonal. Obviously, the head is the same. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's kind of nice that the branch name and the pull request name is sort of similar, so it's easier to recognize and keep track of. Yeah. So I think I would want to go through all the public stuff we have and have a look at that and see how it looks, and maybe see if there's some low hanging quick fix fruits that we might want to do something about, like using modern reflection APIs instead of using the other things like that. But I think for the most part it shouldn't be, as long as it's internal, we can always pick up on that later. And then I think we can't actually do a V2 release without having that pull request you've been working on, the navigation manager related things. They can just come after in a V2.1, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
So
So
it
it's
just
not
builds
a-
on top. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
It would make. I mean, obviously, I can. Given that I don't think that the public API will change so much, and I don't need that for that
Nope.
feature. I can work on it, can rebase it, and make it a bit easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, probably I can have it ready until next week. That's just not a big thing at all. Given that all the code is already there, it's just about making it simpler.
Yeah, that's nice. That's what we want.
Exactly.
Okay.
Amazing.
Well, I
Yes.
think it was a treat to have Scott jump in and chat, like a meta chat about presentation stuff and
Courses
making
and
money
whatnot.
doing courses and all of that. Yeah, that's awesome to hear about. So, but I think everything else being equal, I think I should. Well, I keep claiming that we should probably be back next week, but let's see. Let's see if we can actually get into a good streak. I don't have any vacation. I don't have any travel planned next week. And actually, for the next couple of weeks, it should be until we hit
Until MVP.
MVP summit. But then again, maybe Scott and I will be able to do a early morning Friday with you. That would be quite it would be. I think they are 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah, for you, yes.
Yeah, for us, and so maybe we can just do it remotely.
Or we do it my morning and you're still in the bar. That would also work.
That might not be safe for work. So
Maybe.
let's see.
That also means we could maybe do this in Oslo, given that we all three are
absolutely,
there.
Yeah. Let's double check. Let's double check if our travel plans align up. So
I mean, I can already tell you I am there from Tuesday afternoon, and I have to take my flight on Friday morning. Probably,
Okay.
maybe I even take it later, but my current assumption is Friday somewhere morning.
Yeah. Well, we can probably always borrow the podcast booth, even though it's probably not set up for live coding as much. But let's see. It would be fun. Maybe it's a more talking heads thing and less coding version
Yes.
at an NC Oslo. So, cool. Okay, Stephen, have an excellent
Thank
weekend.
You too, and then we will see us latest, hopefully, in a week.
Thanks everybody for coding with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.